Hey, Earpers, welcome back to another episode of There's Something in the Air. You're here with BP,
Michelle.
I'm Monica.
and we are about to take a spoiler-filled deep dive into episode 103 of Wynonna Earp, Leavin On Your Mind. This is the one where Dolls gets Shorty killed, and I'm still bitter about it. Anybody else?
None of us are over that.
I have so much salt to throw at dolls.
This is going to be a salty dish. Everybody ready?
Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so we open up this episode inside Shorty's bar, and Waverly is moving out.
I love that she has somehow managed to con Wynonna into moving all of her boxes.
Well, I like that she somehow conned Wynonna into allowing her to get her stuff. Because, like, at the end of last episode, like, she couldn't even get her yoga mat.
She needs her yoga mat, Michelle. Like, that is very important. It's very important to her.
I like that it was like 3 boxes. That was it.
I mean, maybe the back of the truck was full of stuff.
Well, and it's all from IKEA, so it all flat packs. That's her entire apartment. In 3 boxes.
Do people actually take apart IKEA furniture when they're moving?
Oh, I don't recommend
Yes.
it.
That sounds like a terrible idea. It took forever to put the damn thing together.
We had to, so when I moved in this house, the movers took apart the bed and put it back together. And after about a month, in the middle of the night, we heard a crack. They hadn't put it together correctly. And like the mattress slid down to the floor. It was great. That was a great day. Anyway. So yeah, when possible, try to avoid taking apart your IKEA furniture because it is very difficult to put back together.
But also, at every opportunity, take the opportunity to buy IKEA furniture.
That is correct.
One of our sponsors today, IKEA.
IKEA. IKEA of Purgatory.
Where Waverly and Nicole met.
Yes.
Yep.
Headcanon.
Kind of.
I mean, that's in my heart, that's where they met. That's where, like, Nicole saw her from across the showroom floor. She followed the arrows on the floor, and they led to her heart. Perhaps she was in a Poang chair.
Alrighty,
Okay.
so Wynonna Earp.
Okay, so then they have a little back and forth of their sisterly jazz about how Waverly's working and such and such.
Shorty's pretty happy that the Earp sisters are back together. Probably also really happy that it's giving Waverly some space from Champ.
That is always your priority, that's for sure.
Yep.
And that's okay. So then Wynonna starts hitting on Doc, and I love it.
It's so good, because Doc just shuts her down in, like, the best way.
By calling her a woman in dungarees.
He's really just oozing sex appeal in that scene. And I don't know, I'm watching it, like, on the plane. And I just was hit, once again, by how charming and attractive Doc Holliday is. And how appealing Tim Rozon makes him.
I really like in that scene how Waverly is just, like, shooting concerned glances at Wynonna, like, the entire time.
Yeah, because she has a good feeling about him, but also not necessarily, to go along with her sister.
Well, he's, a little old for her.
A little.
I mean, he is older than the state of Colorado.
So then Waverly picks on her.
Waverly kind of, like, attempts to, like, slut-shame her sister.
Yeah, a little bit.
She does.
Wasn't really a fan of that. And Wynonna, I mean, obviously she's used to this kind of stuff because it doesn't even affect her. I would have, like, slapped someone.
Yeah, I feel like she owns it enough that she just doesn't care.
Well, I mean, it goes back to how, like, people have been talking down to her entire life, so she just believes whatever, like, shitty thing people say about her, even if it is her sister. Especially if it's her sister.
Yeah, that's true.
And Doc tells Wynonna that she's not his type, and I'm pretty sure that Wynonna is everybody's type. Just throwing it out there.
I'd like to ask again where Doc got his money. Like, he apparently had more, or maybe this is just his winnings from his small amount of pirate booty that he had dug up from the week before. But he's paying for his drinks, one would assume, or Shorty wouldn't let him in to drink at all.
Maybe he sold some old-timey antique, aka one of his possessions.
Maybe. Whatever he could fit at the bottom of the well.
I would like to discuss the bank robbery he performed that was out of the script.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So then we get to go Guys, it's a huge trip. It's a big deal. We go to the big city.
The big city.
The big city, which is an hour away from Purgatory. And later we see, like, when Waverly's doing her presentation, she has, like, a map of the Ghost River Triangle. And it literally just says, like, Purgatory. And then, like, half a foot down, it just says the big city. It was, like, the funny... I know it's called the big city, but seeing it on a map just made me laugh.
Oh, absolutely. It's just crazy ridiculous.
Like, yeah, we're just going to the big city.
Can imagine that conversation in the writer's room. What should we call it? Fuck it. Calling it the big city.
Yeah, I really want to know how that went down. Is it some kind of joke, or is it, it just seems strange to me.
Maybe at some point they meant to give it a name, and then, like, they got into, like, filming, and they're like, fuck, it just says the big city. Whatever.
Close enough.
I'm down with that headcanon. Works for me.
Yep, they just forgot about it.
So we're there to open a time capsule, and there are 3 gentlemen that most assuredly do not fit in.
They look like, well, like revenants. I was going to go into a whole explanation about how ridiculous they look, but I mean, you guys have seen the show.
And Marty is super twitchy. I wonder if he went, like, I know they said that he got sent to hell 3 times. Does that mean that the other 2 didn't get sent as many times?
Well, we know that, was it Sam just got, just respawned from hell.
Yes.
Because he was taken out by Ward, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so I don't think Marty was down recently, but we know that at least Sam's gone down, I guess, twice, because each Revenant has been there at least once.
Yeah.
I thought that was weird, though, because you have the ones, they basically talk about, like, the more you go, the more kind of demonic you get, but that doesn't seem like that many times. Like, it just makes it seem like most of them have only been once.
Maybe it's not just number of times, but, like, length of stay.
Oh, that would actually make sense, too.
I mean, because, like, all right, bringing up Buffy, but, like, when Angel gets sent to, like, that hell dimension, it's, like, 1 second on Earth is, like, 200 years or some nonsense like that, so maybe that's what it's like for the Revenants.
That makes sense. But if it's like that for all of them, I got nothing. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, if it's like that for all of them, it would be a constant. Because I guess it would depend on how early in the heir's tenure they got sent to hell, but they would all come back around the same time.
Exactly.
Right. Well, they all respawn at the same time, but, like, if somebody got taken out by the heir, like, the day they turned 27, they lived to, like, be, I don't know, 50, which doesn't seem likely. They were down there for quite a while.
Correct.
We're at the big city because they're opening the time capsule of
Shirley Dixon.
Shirley Dixon, the deaf poet.
Deaf mute poet.
Deaf mute poet. All right. And they're making such a big deal about this time capsule. Time capsules are never that interesting. Ever.
Yeah, and it was really small. And besides what he pulled out, which was, like, the journal, I didn't even really see much of anything else in there. Like, what was supposed to be historically impressive?
I don't know. What it was is they went into, like, the writer's room, and they're like, all right, what random shit can we throw in a box? We just really need this book.
I think it's stuff they just, like, found around set.
Yeah. Just throw random shit in here, and then we'll just pull out the book. Nobody's going to pay attention to the other crap.
I feel like it'd be funny if they just walked around to, like, each writer and just be like, all right, here, just give me your wallet. Here, I'll take that pen. We got a time capsule to fill, people. Come on.
I like, too, that, like, they just, like, they dropped the world's fakest hand.
Yes.
And they're, like, much like the blood that they wrote the note to Wynonna with, that hand, not remotely realistic.
Well, and she makes reference to later when she watches the video of them cutting off the guy's hand. She's like, how dull is that knife? But, the hand looks like it's been taken off the arm by, like, a surgeon. Like, the cuts are very precise, Looks like it was pulled off like a medical dummy or something.
Yeah, it's a really clean cut.
Yeah.
So the knife was not very dull, Wynonna. It was, in fact, very, very sharp.
She's just being dramatic.
Oh, that Wynonna.
Oh, Wynonna.
So then twitchy Marty, like, has an itch because he wants to stab some dude, like, 1,000,000 times.
So what? do all of the Revenants just want to kill people? Or, like,
No.
snack on them? Or is it different? Like, oh, this Revenant likes doing this weird thing. Or is it because he got sent to hell 3 times that he wants to kill? I don't know. I'm curious about that.
No, I mean,
Well,
they all seem to want to. But the thing I think that kind of, like, grossed me out through this episode, I noticed when it started, is they all seem to kind of, like, get off on it. Like, they get just a little bit too,
They get red-eyed every single time.
Yeah.
Or at least Sam does.
yeah, and he's kind of like,
His reaction to Marty stabbing that guy creeped me out.
yeah, it
bit.
makes me a little bit uncomfortable.
Also, are there no laundry facilities at the trailer park? Because Marty's shirt was super
Bobo's not
dirty.
going to fund that.
I'm just, like, he needed to wash his shirt. It was super gross.
I'm
Like, I
sorry.
realized
Did
you're
you
a
see Marty's teeth?
I was gonna say his
Because-
teeth. And like, I don't know if it's the entire episode, but I know when they're in like the bank vault, he has like blue shit in his mouth. Like,
Yeah.
it's not enough that his teeth look disgusting, but it's like he just had like a packet of like that blue raspberry candy shit that dyes your mouth.
Yeah.
He's just gross.
Oh,
He's just
Marty.
gross.
Marty and his meth mouth. He's like a hellhound, though. He probably puts everything in his mouth, just like a dog.
Probably.
That he needed to be muzzled. I know that much.
He was just completely insane. Like, he should have been in a straitjacket.
Yeah.
Like, locked away in one of Bobo's trailers.
And he doesn't know how to use OxyClean.
He doesn't even know what he doesn't know what soap is.
It's for some reason, how dirty the one sleeve of his shirt was really bothered me the entire episode.
That's
His
so
entire
funny.
existence bothered me this entire episode. Like, he's
Well,
just
that's
so
fair.
gross.
He really
He
is
was
gross.
really gross.
And like, props to that actor for playing like insane tweaker really, really well.
Yeah,
He
he
did.
did do that well.
He did.
Okay, so we get the diary of our deaf mute for reasons we don't yet know. False hands are falling out everywhere, but we pick that up too and run away. And then we are back at the Black Badge office, and Waverly is presenting her research to Dolls and Wynonna.
She is explaining the Ghost River Triangle to us, really, but in the guise of explaining it to them and explaining why they can't leave purgatory.
I like how Dolls kind of calls her out for like explaining to the audience because he's like, I've heard about this already. Carry on.
I'm familiar with demons and curses, little girl.
This is not brand new information. Please continue.
And in that whole conversation, the Revenants are referred to as people, and Dolls is like, they're not people. And that's really, he says they're not people, and then Wynonna's like, well, they used to be. And that kind of sets up this difference in how they look at the demons. Wynonna obviously has a problem. Even if you know they're demons, you're there killing these creatures who are so human-like every day, and you're putting them in the ground, like, that has to wear on you. Unless you're Dolls, who, is like, oh, well, they're bad, and that's all there is to it. He has just such a black and white view of the supernatural, whereas Wynonna is, she's still new to it, I guess, with putting them down, so she just doesn't see it that way. And you see, in the next couple episodes when she has to put down Fish and Levi, where she sees that they're not all evil, and we see that even more in season 2. But Dolls doesn't really, at least right now, he has a very, very cut and dried view of the Revenants.
I think he
Well,
just
also-
has a military mindset.
It's very Riley Finn. Again, not to bring up Buffy, but it's very Riley Finn.
Well, after she's like, oh, they're people, he's like, all right, outlaws turn demons. So it's even more black and white for him because he just, everyone's under the assumption that every single Revenant was an outlaw turned into a demon. So there's like, in his mind, not a single redeeming quality to any of them. But as we know from future episodes and seasons, they weren't all necessarily outlaws. There was a lot of people that were just like casualties of war.
Wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, like bystanders that, took a bullet, or like Bobo or Robert Svane was just trying to do the right thing and ended up in a really shitty situation. So it's, I mean, they're painting it really, really black and white right now, but everything is gray.
Right, so she's saying, he's saying they're demons. She's saying, but they used to be people. And he's like, yeah, but they were bad people. So even that doesn't matter.
Right. He has, well, I guess, because he has that military mindset, he has to justify what he's doing in those black and white terms. Because he's like, I am a good guy. They are the bad guys. So there's no room for emotion.
Right, he's very much a compartmentalizer.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Well, so this is where we find out that the Ghost River Triangle spans thousands of square miles, which is daunting.
To say the least.
How are they ever going to find all of those revenants? I mean, that's 77 needles and a giant, giant haystack.
Also, I didn't realize it was that big. How many Tomahawk missiles was Black Badge planning on sending in? Because they wanted to deal with, the entire Ghost River Triangle problem. So they'd have to, blow up half of the big city, Purgatory, and then, thousands of miles of just, brush. They basically just need to, drop, an A-bomb on that area and walk away.
And if they had done that, it still wouldn't have eradicated the revenants, right?
Nope, they're like cockroaches.
Yeah. So it wouldn't have solved your big problem.
But the only problem they're worried about is people finding out.
Well, making a
That's a good
crater
point.
in the middle of the world is a really good way to draw attention to yourself.
No, that was an asteroid or a drop ship from the Hyundai. Whatever.
The Hyundai! They didn't leave behind a crater. I mean, they did leave behind a giant burnt circle, but no crater.
Don't Hyundai-splain me. I was just trying to name drop.
I know, but we haven't Hyundai-splained yet on this podcast, so I felt the need.
That's true. Fair enough.
So in this scene, we get to see Wynonna, and I think this is the first time we see Wynonna in a donut.
Yes, agreed.
Yes. All right, another amazing ship, Wynonna and her donuts.
That is
Why-
right up there with Waverly and her shotgun.
Is that
Oh, yeah.
Wino nuts?
Listeners, let us know what that ship should be called.
I mean, it's either that or Donona. So
Donona makes me feel less weird.
then Wino nuts?
Yep.
You know what? Both are great. Listeners, let us know. We'll put up a poll. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll
Oh, man.
That'll be great.
The one other thing that we see in this episode is, I think this is the first time we see Wynonna's, ammo belt, belt holster thing.
Is it the first time? I don't know, but it's prevalent. I'll give you that.
Well, then we also see later at the trailer park that Doc has the exact same one.
Really?
Yes. I saw that and was, excited and confused, and I want a backstory.
Well, we will clearly make one up.
That's the only
Sounds
one that
good.
they sell at that sporting goods store.
Well, that's not a very fun story, Monica.
Okay, here's the story. Doc learned how to use eBay. Wynonna got it off eBay. That's how Doc got the money he was using to pay for his drinks.
Perfect.
So it solves a lot of problems we were having.
Yeah, and now he might actually be able to go up against Waverly on eBay for Earp memorabilia.
There you go. Everyone's happy.
Still doesn't explain why
One-
they're running that generator, but
That gas generator. Let's not start with that.
Oh my gosh.
I also noticed I freeze. My screen is frozen on that scene. They're using a Mac and they don't have a sticker over the Apple logo. So that
Product
endorsement-
placement. I
Yeah,
don't know.
some product placement there, which I know is a really nonsensical thing, but there's always a sticker. I was like, ooh, what sticker did they put on there? Nope, just the Apple logo.
That's interesting because you see on a lot of shows, even really big shows, they'll have extremely generic electronics, phones, sodas, all that kind of stuff. So I don't even know how that works because you would think if there was some sort of deal that had to be worked out, they wouldn't bother with that.
Maybe there are different rules in Canada.
That's true. Maybe.
I mean, Canada's so much better anyway. They probably have less ridiculous licensing nonsense.
so in this scene we get a really one of my favorite parts where Wynonna delivers that line about how revenants, she's the only one who can put them down, and they tremble in fear before her, and she has sugar on her nose from the donut, which really just epitomizes her as a character. Like, everybody's gonna fear me, but also, look, I look ridiculous. And then a wonderful, perfect, amazing Melanie Scrofano face is when she wipes the sugar from her nose. It's so, like, it's nothing that you could ever script or direct, I can't imagine. Like, that's just pure her. And it's so hard for me to describe, but if you've seen the episode, you know what I'm talking about, and you know that it's lovely. I just love it. I think it's so cute.
I feel like in the script, it's just like bracket, Melanie makes a face, and bracket.
That's half of the script. Half of the shooting script.
The part of what makes that moment really, really great, where she's like giving like her intimidating speech, is like the sound design is really, really cool, because they have this like music slowly building behind her as she speaks, and then like you cut to Dolls and the music just completely drops off and it like makes his deadpan line delivery that much more, I don't know, like awesome. So this is my favorite scene. I noticed a lot of things, including sound design.
That's good though, I mean, because obviously they did that on purpose. It's
yeah, it
not
just made the moment seem that much more epic.
They didn't just run out of track.
And then I like that Nicole has learned her lesson to knock before she enters.
I like that, because she's just kind of chilling out there. I mean, it was a decent amount of time they made her wait.
And how amusing and adorable was Waverly when she was, like, trying to act casual. Like, you know, Dolls closes up the murder board, and Waverly's like draping herself across the table and trying to cover up the papers. It was amusing to me.
And like Nicole opens that door and she's all business, and then she like spots Waverly, and it's just like that hard eyes emoji.
It really is.
Like every single time she glances in Waverly's direction, it's just a disgusting amount of hard eyes. I mean, it's great, but it's so much hard eyes.
And Dolls, who doesn't do relationships, immediately clocks it.
Clocks it, and I think he ships it a little bit.
Absolutely, he ships it.
It happens like 4 times in this episode. That poor guy is just like, I don't know what to do with the fact that I'm seeing what I'm seeing. This is not my thing. I wanted to bring up, so when Waves is doing all her research, she's been working on that forever, right? And she's so proud of it. And it's a big deal, and it's more than any of them knew. It really is huge. But of course, Dolls is just like, thanks a lot. That was cool. Give me your files. And it just made me think contextually, especially because there's just been so much going on in my own life about, it's just such a good indication, like from Waverly's side, about how it feels when you've been working so hard on something and it just completely gets glossed over by everybody else.
Well, yeah, she has like her organized files, and he's just like, all right, well, I'm just going to start piling these up in whatever order I decide to, and just crush your soul a little bit. It's fine.
It's like, oh, this research is going to be great. And it's like, that's my entire life's work. You're just taking it with you? Like, there's, you know, she definitely feels... I don't think that necessarily made her feel like a full-fledged member of the team.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. But you know what? There is no team right now. There isn't. I mean, you know, Wynonna framed it correctly when she's like, just shut up and do what he says. That's all they really have going on. There's no trust built. There's no actual dynamic between any of them. It's just like, okay, we're all here, and Dolls is telling us exactly how we get to participate.
That's true.
Yeah, so they leave with Nicole to go look at whatever, you know, news she has, and Waverly drops that Doc Holliday photo, and her reaction to it is just so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's totally like, again, sorry, but it's like in Buffy, where it's like, oh no, what are we going to do to solve this thing? And Giles immediately pulls out the right book and turns to the page he needs, and is like, oh, here's the solution. Like, of course the picture of Doc Holliday falls out right then. And you're telling me she didn't have all of their faces memorized with all of the research that she's done? That she didn't even recognize him a little bit when she met him?
I was going to say, that was the only thing that surprised me. Not that it fell out, but that he's such a prominent figure, you know, in that lore, or in their case, you know, in their history, that I would have thought she knew what he looked like.
Well, I mean, it's not like you'd really expect, like, the best friend of your great-great-grandfather to just, like, pop up one day. So I could see how she would maybe be like, oh, he looks kind of similar, but I mean, that's not possible. On the other hand, she's in purgatory dealing with revenants, so her suspension of disbelief should not exist.
Right. Right.
Another thing about that scene, and I think this a lot about the entire first season, is Nicole just seems so young. Like, so young. She just screams rookie cop, and she seems like she's 12 years old, whereas in season 2 she really doesn't, and even by the end of season 1 she doesn't. She just seems so young.
You know what it is? It's those goddamn khakis. The khakis disappear, and she no longer looks like a 12-year-old.
You might be right.
Also, I think in season 2 there's like 95% less just like longing hard eyes, because that look makes people look young always.
That's true.
I mean, so does a French braid.
True.
In a lot of
Also
ways.
true.
I mean, it's usually like something you do for a kid, and just so they don't have to do anything else with their hair.
Maybe it is just the hairstyle, but she just really, she just seems so young. Yeah.
No, they all mature a lot, though. I mean, Waverly is just so different in season 2 as well.
I think it has a lot to do with that they like they've grown as people, and they've grown into kind of who they actually are, because a lot of it seems like they're all trying to fit into like these archetypes at the beginning. And then as we get like good character development and they grow into themselves, their like fashion changes, and the way that they carry themselves and the way they like do their hair and all that changes, and it seems like a lot more natural.
Yeah,
And you
I
don't
agree
even
with that.
you don't even notice necessarily that it's really changed that much until, like, for instance, when you had the Wishverse episode at the very end of the episode before that, like you kind of notice that Waverly's hair is different, and in that episode it's a little bit different, but then when you look at it a little more closely, you're like, oh my god, she looks exactly like she does in that first episode or in the first season. Whereas if you like, until that point, I don't know that if you had asked me, I would have really been able to pick out what the difference was. But then when you see it kind of in contrast to how she was right before that, it's just very obvious.
Oh yeah, you go from like the end of season 2 Waverly, and like the scene where it cuts to the new reality, and she's in that like Shorty's shirt and like their outfit from episode 1. You're like, whoa.
With the hair.
It's like a completely different character.
The little bump in the front.
Yeah.
Or whatever it's called. I don't know. It's not my jam.
You're not a fashion expert.
This is not a fashion podcast, everybody. Yeah. Maybe we should have a fashion expert on.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Because I'm sure we all know one of those.
So we go from there to... Well, we go from Waverly realizing that Doc is in fact Doc Holliday to Doc chilling in his quaint trailer, reading a book. I'm assuming searching for Clutie.
Still with traitor and bitch written on the door.
Where
he's not one to destroy art.
Right. Where did he have those glasses? Were those with his pirate booty? They just in his pocket?
No, he just
in the bottom of the well?
He picked those up at the convenience store on the corner.
Oh, okay.
Some reading glasses.
I think
They probably have those.
Shorty's.
I was going to say they probably have them at Shorty's.
One-stop
Coffee.
shop for all of your needs.
Right, coffee, spectacles.
There's just like one of those swirling, stands. You can get them right off there while you're waiting for your check.
Good point.
And your cappuccino.
Coffee shop, bar, restaurant, convenience store. Down in the basement, it's like a pharmacy.
Yep.
Yes.
So we get Bethany comes in. She's a real delight.
I don't even know how to describe her character.
Yeah. I just... Wow.
I think that's the best way we can describe it. Just, wow.
Yeah. It just depends on your inflection, because sometimes wow is good and sometimes wow is bad. And in this case, I feel like wow is just confusing. I don't really know what it means.
Yeah, I'm not really sure of her motivation as a character.
I think her motivation was that she wanted to sleep with Doc Holliday.
Yeah, I don't know if I just didn't remember the details of this scene, or if I was always too busy tweeting to like look up and notice what was going on. But I was made Doc Holliday's character made me very uncomfortable in this scene. Like, I guess hundreds of years in a well have meant that Doc has lost his subtlety. Like when he grabs her hand and puts it on his crotch. I don't know. It made me very uncomfortable.
It made me really uncomfortable, and I feel like it would have normally, but with all of like the shit in the news right now about like exactly this kind of stuff, it made me feel like really, really uncomfortable watching.
I think it's that, and it's a combination of I love Doc so much as a character, and think of him so highly as a character. The fact that he would do that just really bothered me. A lot. Like, a lot.
Well, in the alternate universe, he does, like, he's like a drug lord, and he is holding a woman hostage in his barn. So, like, without the intervention of, like, the Earp sisters, like, Doc has the capability of being a real piece of shit.
And I don't think, obviously Bethany does go in there with the intention of sleeping with him, either because she wants to or because it will make Bobo mad or because other reasons that we don't know. Like, I realize that. And maybe part of it is just to point out, like, it does make you realize how far he's come as a character from there to the end of season 2. With how supportive he is of Wynonna and just what a good guy he is. Or maybe it's him trying to act like the person that he thinks he is and not the person that he really is. I don't know.
Well, that's certainly the person that he was, though. I mean, that's how they show him in flashbacks, I mean, he's whoring around.
He is, but that just screams of... I never got the impression that he ever forced himself on anyone. And that's more of what that felt like to me. But like you said, Michelle, and I think that's part of it, just because of everything that's been happening in the news, I think that maybe that was just a little bit of a trigger for me.
Oh, yeah, it was just generally uncomfortable as well.
I think that our like, sensitivity on anything related to that right now is, like, at an 11, which it should be.
Yeah, it needs to stay there for a minute.
Yeah, like, we should always be there. But we kind of, like, in TV and whatnot, in any stories, like, it's that is used as a plot device a lot, and we kind of become desensitized to it. And then when you have something like this, where real life suddenly comes crashing down around you, and you're like, oh, wait, no, this is actually really, really disgusting.
Right, absolutely.
And, like, it shouldn't be in our TV shows either.
The one thing I did take out of the scene and actually really like is when he said bravery is just a fancy word for stupid. Please refrain from accusing me of such foolishness.
That line was so good.
Yeah, you can pretty much cut the rest.
Like, that, he said that, and I, like, kind of just, like, wanted to cheer, because that is a really good description of what bravery is to a certain extent.
Yeah, in some situations, for sure.
So, all right, so him and Bethany hook up. Next scene.
Yeah, then we hop on back to the black badge. Ugh. We hop on back to the black badge office, where we find out that fish death is black badge.
Yep.
Got it.
Filleted like a fish means it's a black badge case.
I notated that Wynonna was flexing her history muscles because she knew who Shirley Dixon was. And I'm like, I don't know who that is.
Is that a real person?
Does it matter?
It does not, no. It really doesn't.
Can't believe you're disrespecting the memory of Shirley Dixon, the big city's most famous deaf-mute poet. But okay, that's fine. We're gonna get mail about that.
Yeah.
I like in this scene where Doll, like, so in the previous scene, Waverly, she had lost her notebook that had all the revenants in it because Doc stole it and threw it into Killer Miller's mine shaft. And so she says she has theories on, like, what the other who the other revenants are, and he's just like, we don't go off of hunches here, Mr. Agent Man, jackass.
Fancy pants agent man.
Fancy pants agent man.
Get it right, Michelle.
Jackass. I am sorry. It is late. And then in this scene, he asks Wynonna for theories, and she's like, oh, you mean like a hunch?
Yeah.
She just throws that right back in his face, and it's so good.
He's starting to get away from the fancy pants agent man, the very buttoned up, straight laced person that we met at the beginning of the show. And, the Earp sisters are gradually wearing him down.
Ugh, don't say that yet. I hate him in this episode more than any other episode. He gets no credit today.
Okay, no.
So
No,
save
not
that for
today.
next week. Not today.
I would just like to call it right now that there's no contest who wins the That Bitch Award this
Absolutely
episode.
not.
Oh, no
that's Dolls.
contest. Dolls is most assuredly that bitch in this episode.
Dolls is that bitch. Shorty did not have to die. And it's
No,
Dolls'
he
fault.
didn't.
Just because he wanted to see if they could do it.
Like when we get to that scene, I feel like there's gonna be a really long rage session, but it's just because he couldn't just listen to Wynonna and Waverly and take their word for it. He had to fucking do it, prove to himself and whatever. Jackass. Anyway.
Oh yeah, we'll get there when we get there. Ugh, I have
Sounds
feelings. One of the things that I love when she's watching the video, of the guy getting his hand cut off, and it's so gross, and it's like, well, it's supposed to be, because really they just cover everything. But from her perception, it's like, oh, it's something really bad. But when she makes the comment, oh, he's going to miss his bus, like, instead of caring that his hand actually got cut off.
I mean, she's right, though. I bet he did miss his bus.
I mean, priorities.
I feel like he missed his bus, but he probably picked up a ride from an ambulance, so it worked out.
But maybe they didn't go to the same place. I mean, we'll never know. Hopefully we'll get some backstory on him.
In season 3.
Obviously, that's my number one hope for season 3, is more backstory on the hand of an innocent murder. I don't remember what it was.
Innocent murderer.
Oh,
Yes.
really? Was it?
Yeah.
All right.
I like how they, chop this dude's hand off, and then like fucking Marty is like, "What? A security camera?" The security camera placement. I get that it's for a shot in a TV show, but it's just fucking hilarious. Like, what city worker is just snooping on people on that bench? Sorry, I pick up the weirdest things. Like, that's not an efficient angle for like a security camera.
And now we've hit Efficiency Corner, everyone's favorite segment of the Earps Plane podcast.
Where I lose my shit over really stupid stuff.
It is.
I think you're just upset that they didn't have their faces properly outlined by the machine, so you couldn't tell which one was an asset or a target. Just saying.
Oh, person of interest.
Oh, is that it? Do you watch that show? No. Is anyone on
I've
it?
seen an episode here or there.
Here or there.
You're prematurely bringing up person of interest. I have like an entire root Acker spiel for later.
Okay. Moving on.
But no, that's a good point.
One of the things
it.
that I thought was interesting was that they call him, like Dolls calls Marty a hellhound, right? And he's like, they're strong, they're fast, they have a finely tuned sense of smell. And I just thought it was weird because, initially we're talking about these all as humans, and then they turn into revenants, which are just kind of like, you just basically expect them to be people who keep coming back from hell. But he's almost talking about them as if there's like different species of demons, like on Buffy and stuff. And I just found that really interesting.
Maybe, his description's not wrong. Like, it's spot on with Marty, that insane asshole. I don't know. Do they ever reference like any of the other revenants with like a demon type like that again?
Well, not necessarily that they name that, but like Killer Miller was a shadow, and the gentleman in the next, Father Augie, like his body is still there, and he's using it like in weird corporeal form instead of like rising like everybody else does. He has like powers.
TikTok, that guy.
Yeah.
Ugh. That's a good point. Maybe it has to do again with like the number of times / amount of time spent in hell.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's like if you're there for so long, like any bit of like the human part of you starts to like melt away, and you're just left with like you know, your demonic form, and I guess that like highlights whatever like you were,
Your
like,
traits.
yeah, like at your core, who are you? So like, Killer Miller, shadow assassin, not really, but he was a killer, so he became like an assassin that was a shadow.
He's a shadow agitator.
Yeah. He's a shadow menacer.
I think this
Dude,
has really
get
gotten
away.
away from you.
You think so?
Dude. Your description is reminding me of, again, sorry, but in Buffy, where, Buffy tries to say that, when you become a vampire, it has nothing to do with how you were as a human, and Angel's very clearly going to disagree with her. It's like your bad characteristics are just kind of enhanced. So it's sort of like that. Like he was an assassin in the shadows, and that's what he turned into,
Right. No, I agree with you, for sure. So then Wynonna just drops a line on Dolls where she says sometimes you come so close to cool, and then cool takes a run for it. And I thought that was just like such a random line.
It's a random line, but a line that I adore.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's so good. And I really want to use it more in my day-to-day life. I know plenty of people it applies to, myself included.
Myself included as well. Except I don't come that close. I don't come nearly as close as I would hope, or as I think I do.
I think you come closer than Dolls does, especially in this moment.
That's true.
That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Also
Quick,
true.
somebody say something shitty about Kathy.
Done.
Can't throw off the balance by saying too many nice things.
Yeah.
I know.
So when he explains what it is they should be looking for, the oxymorons, essentially, she says she's going to be looking out for a zombie wearing an icy hot patch, and I just, like, cannot get that visual out of my head.
Zombies have back pain, too.
When she said that, I was like, man, some days, that's me. Because I'm always fucking injured in one way or another. I have so much icy hot shit in my house. And if I don't get enough sleep, I look like a zombie.
So it's
So
a
that's
good
essentially,
thing.
it's just me.
It's you. It's a good thing that you didn't live in Purgatory or the big city, or they would have,
I'd have gotten shot by Wynonna.
Yes. There are worse ways to go.
I want someone to draw that. I mean, we have a lot of fan artists. So somebody needs to draw us a Wynonna-themed zombie with an icy hot patch.
Who looks like Michelle?
Preferably, like, standing at a pharmacy counter, like, trying to get a refill.
Yes. Can somebody please make that?
Yeah, that would be great.
We'll put it on a t-shirt. It's fine.
Yeah, so then we hop on back to Shorty's, which at this point is probably like a full-on food court. And...
And convenience store. There's a
Waverly.
Walmart inside.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've now turned that apartment into a clothing store.
Yes.
Where they carry Champ's jeans.
Yes.
A clothing store that Champ is the only person who shops at.
The Purgatory IKEA is actually just Shorty's.
That makes perfect sense in so many ways.
A previously unseen third floor.
Yes.
Okay, so Doc wants some information, and Waverly is slyly trying to confront him with what she thinks she knows, just to see if she can get a reaction out of him. It's really funny.
It's interesting that she's not freaked out at all that, Doc Holliday, perhaps he's a revenant, perhaps he's a zombie or undead. Like, she doesn't question it. She's just like, oh, I guess that's Doc Holliday, and he's alive right here, right now. And that's it. And there's just no confusion whatsoever on her part. Interesting.
Her attempting to be, like, sly, like, trying to get the information out of him is hilarious. Because, one, Doc thinks he's getting away by acting real nonchalant, but, like, at this point, everybody knows he's full of shit. And Waverly will be like, oh, here's this one article, and then she'll stare at him like, ooh, is this gonna be it? Is this gonna be it? If he, like, looked up once, he'd be like, oh, I guess the jig is up, huh?
Yeah. I'm gonna Earp-splain you for a second, like, I gotta. Remember he was fixing the mailbox on the homestead after they got the Amylite back working, so she knows for sure he's not a revenant.
Oh, you're right.
She said that at the end of episode 2.
Yes. But
Good point.
she doesn't know that he's not something supernatural.
Oh, absolutely not. Well, I mean, she does know that he is, if
Yeah,
that makes
that's
sense.
true.
I mean, she does.
Yeah.
She definitely doesn't know what he is, but it's not like it's Dolls' great-great-grandson, like they are with Wyatt.
Do you think we'll ever get any backstory on, was it Big Nose Kate?
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's a real person, so you can go look that up all day.
Excellent. I'll report back for the next episode.
Maybe she can get her own minisode.
That would be great. I'll just talk for
Ooh.
25 minutes about Big Nose Kate.
We missed the brief scene in the cemetery where Marty goes to start digging up the dude, and he decides to stab. He just has a thing about stabbing people, so I just wanted to include that.
Yeah, Marty has some serious issues.
Marty does. He is a little bit stabby.
Then we cut over to Wynonna sitting at Ward and Willa's graveside.
And she starts to like break down and have like a genuine moment with, the headstone and box of sand, since they're not really there, but I mean the meaning is there.
But Ward is there, right? Like, so she's only talking to Willa.
No, I think that Ward isn't there.
They took him, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they took his body.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not. I could just be making that up.
No, I thought that they took them both.
Because,
I'm
I
gonna
mean, they
look that
were
up.
taking him, and then she shot him. So did they
Well-
just keep taking him? I just don't recall. Maybe they tried to save him.
Well, I was gonna say, maybe they just took him and then, like, the Earp family just disappeared and left Wynonna and Waverly behind. But it's known that, people know that Wynonna shot her dad, or is it just Revenants that know that?
I think everybody knows she shot her dad. I think that's why everybody thinks that she's a freak. Because she shot her own dad.
Yeah.
Then in theory, his body should be there, but it doesn't sound like it is.
I mean, maybe it's buried by his tomatoes.
Everybody loves their tomatoes.
Everybody's got a soulmate.
So, in the episode Landslide, we find out that they did bury Ward in the coffin because Willa says, "You guys killed me. What did you bury in Daddy's coffin?" And Waverly says, "Daddy."
Oh.
Earp-splained.
Yeah, Earp-splain. Way to click it off over there, Kathy.
So Wynonna's having a moment with her dad and sister, and in the background you hear Marty losing his fucking mind.
You hear shoveling sounds.
You do hear a great deal of shoveling sounds, so
And
we
that
know
is-
that there's at least one shovel in purgatory.
Right, that isn't at the bottom of the well. I had to turn the captions on because I was having
Yep,
trouble
it says
hearing.
shoveling sounds.
Does it? I wasn't paying attention that time.
I just pulled it up. Definitely says shoveling sounds.
Oh, I love it.
I feel like Monica wants to have a stern conversation with whoever captions the show.
It's supposed to be adjective and then verb. It should be shoveling and then what it's doing. Right? Something.
Close.
I don't know how grammar works, so I'm not the person to ask.
It's not grammar, it's captions.
I don't know how the English language works. I'm the wrong person to ask.
What is it? Verb then adjective?
How we do it, it's noun and then verb. So it would be like shovel scraping.
Okay. And this one says
Shovel
shoveling.
sounding.
It says shoveling sounds. I had the captions on the plane. And I wrote it down.
Shoveling sounds. I like how pissed Wynonna gets at, the insane dude. And she just thinks it's some guy off his meds because he's sitting there mumbling about being in hell and what Sam made me do and this and that. He's such a tweaker.
Yeah, he really is. He really just seems like he's on a lot of meth.
Yeah, all the drugs.
I bet Purgatory has a huge meth problem.
Have you seen The Revenants? Yeah.
They definitely buy it at Shorty's. That's what they're cooking in the basement.
That's the alley behind Shorty's. That's where you buy your drugs.
That's why all those motorcycles were parked there in the last episode when nobody else was there. When just Gus and Wynonna and Waverly were there eating Canadian Thanksgiving, and there were like 4 motorcycles lined up in front of Shorty's. They were all just buying meth in the alley.
In the basement, yeah. It was Meth Monday.
Meth Monday, favorite day of the week in Purgatory.
Yep,
That's right.
Absolutely.
So the Marty shows himself to be a revenant, and Wynonna's like, "Oh fuck, yeah, I should probably shoot you." So she goes to like pull out her gun. She pulls out the gun, and instead of just shooting him, she, much like Killer Miller, decides to menace him instead, and it backfires the same way.
Yeah, she tries to get snarky, and this is like one of those times that didn't really work.
Didn't work. She gets a bunch of dirt thrown on her, and then like
With the shoveling sound.
with shoveling sounds, yes. And then he like the effect of him like flying out of the grave. It's like they put him on a harness and they just like lifted him out and like placed him down and they just like sped him up in the footage, and it looks hilarious.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Quote unquote. Fantastic.
It's so good.
I could just see them almost having filmed it separately, you know, and it's like you lay the 2 frames over each other and just like move it. Like,
Well, it's kind of like in Carmilla, I don't know if you've seen that BP, but how they do like the vamp speed like out of the room and stuff. It's like that exact same effect, and it looks just as hilarious here than it normally does in there.
just like press fast forward and see what happens in part of the video.
That's exactly what happened. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, fair. All right, so then we're back in the BBD office again, and we're there to figure out the combo to the vault.
So Marty was digging up that guy's grave just to get the numbers, and he left them behind. Did he even? And it seemed like he didn't even know that he had them.
Well, I feel like he's in like a state of psychosis where nothing makes sense. Because it looks like based off of what they were saying on the paper, he like knew the numbers, but he couldn't figure out the combination.
Yeah.
So he was just like trying to work it out, and that's what that note is. And so for some reason, since he couldn't figure it out, he thought that he would dig up the dude who had the numbers and get that dude's skeleton to tell him.
Right. I'm trying to apply logic to the situation. I see now that was my problem. So thank you. That actually makes a lot more sense.
I have made a grave error in judgment.
Yes.
He's just completely lost it and is like making absolutely zero sense. Because that's what it sounds like to me. Like he's like, oh, I'm going to get this guy to tell me. And Wynonna even points out, she'd be like, yeah, I don't think you're going to get much from him.
Yeah, so she brings in the piece of paper then with the information on it, the numbers. Right. And they discern that he used to be a banker.
No, well, he did. Well, I guess he was a banker. He just like foreclosing homes, right?
He was like the repo guy.
Yeah, it's just like that bank's repo guy.
He's came and like took your keys.
Yeah, he was like the muscle.
Yeah, pretty much. Like those terrible shows on like what's a network that has those terrible reality shows about like repo men and stuff?
I don't know what network it's on, but I believe it's called Repo Men.
Oh, it's probably on AMC.
AMC, really?
Probably.
It's one of those random 3 letters of the alphabet.
Or A&E.
Or A&E.
A&E, that's probably it. That one's just full of shit shows. Unless you really love A&E, in which case, fantastic network.
We're really all about taking every side on this podcast.
It has some good programs.
That's the one, right, that had like Storage Wars and Pawn Stars. Yeah. I used to love those shows.
Pawn Stars was History Channel.
Oh, that's right. Cool.
Anyway, we have gotten a bit off track. I am sorry, but Marty was a repo man for the bank.
Network spiral.
So they logic out based off of like Marty's history and whatnot that the surplus store must have built around the bank vault because who wants to move a bank vault? And so they head out to go and try and open the vault themselves or stop them. I'm not completely sure why they rushed off to the surplus store.
I think it's just because they knew that's where he would be. They don't actually have a... Well, they do have a threat. I mean, they cut a dude's hand off and killed the mayor. They're actually trying to hunt this guy.
All right, true. But they're too late because they see the van. It's... I have a lot of issues with this van. I have one main issue with this van.
I cannot wait to hear it.
Well, it's a shitty van, which is fine. But on the front, they like created a grill with like sticks like stuck it on the front. And I'm just wondering, why the fuck did they do that? Like, I'm not making it up. There's literally, it's just they stuck sticks onto the front of this van.
It's part of the spell that they're doing.
Yes. That was
obviously.
Clutie gave it to them and told them to install it. She pulled it off of her caddy.
Yep.
Well, that must be it then.
I think they got it at IKEA and just assembled it wrong.
They grossly overpaid. I just sent you guys a picture of it.
I see it now.
It's absolutely ridiculous. It bothered me so much when I saw it again later. I was like, why the fuck did you put sticks on the front of the van? It doesn't make it look better. It doesn't seem to serve any purpose. Anyway, that's my nit to pick in this episode, really. 'Cause I'm like, the fuck did you like tie some sticks to your car? Emily Andrus, we deserve answers.
Okay, so in the store where things are actually happening, Shorty is in there with Champ, and he is throwing shade, and it makes my heart sing.
My notes say Shorty, and then in all caps, is over Champ.
Yeah.
Here's my thing, though. Like, he says that he owes Waverly an engagement ring, but does he really want them to get married? Like, is that really what you want for Waverly?
No, I really just think he wanted to throw shade.
I think so, too. Because, I mean, does anybody actually like Champ?
I mean, Gus thinks he's a good kid.
Gus... I don't know what Gus was thinking.
No, I'm kidding.
I think Waverly likes Champ all right, and I believe her friend Stephanie really likes Champ. That was her name, right? The blonde?
I don't know.
Her friend Stephanie.
The one who was getting married?
Oh, and nobody wanted to go to the homestead?
Yes.
I think that was her name.
So instead she gets dead?
Yes.
A little bit.
I always assumed that she was one of the girls that Champ was sleeping with.
I don't... How anybody would sleep with Champ is just beyond me.
He's an attractive man, if that's your thing. Not mine. But, like, just looking at him, he's very attractive.
But then he opens his mouth.
I know.
I feel like he just has a derpy look on his face. He's a deer in the headlights 95% of the time.
And Waverly's so smart. Like, she cannot be intellectually fulfilled by Champ.
Oh, without a doubt. Like, ugh.
It's funny when the guy walks by, though, and is like, look at that body. And he's like, yeah, I get that a lot. Like, he's so utterly full of himself.
Yes. The actor just really fully commits to that role. Like, that, and then the line later on about how, I don't even put gluten. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy does a really good job of being the worst.
Yes.
Maybe. I hope that he's acting.
I hope that he's at Earpapalooza this next year. That would be great.
Is that a possibility?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not in charge of the guest list.
You've just put the idea out into the universe, so maybe it'll happen. Maybe tweet at the organizers.
I can't really make things happen like that.
Yeah, someone get on that.
Maybe they listen to our podcast. Maybe they'll hear it. If I had to choose one bit character, though, I don't think he would be my number one choice, personally speaking.
Well, so in there, I'm like, he gets like ogled by the Revenant. And then they, like, shove Shorty through a shelf, right?
Yeah, like a glass display.
So is that where he gets hurt? Is that like where he gets the deadly wound, or did they shoot him?
I thought they shot him at some point, like by accident.
I thought they
Okay.
did too, but I don't know. I just don't know where.
I didn't catch like him getting shot, which is why I was confused, because I'm like, all right, I know he fell through like that display, like maybe something cut him in the side there, but I don't know.
Yeah, I missed that. What I love about this scene, though, is as soon as they start to take the hostages, and Dolls and Wynonna come up late, she's still, like you guys, we've all said a million times before, she doesn't believe she's good. She believes everything that everyone said about her. She's not like the hero type. But her very first instinct is to put herself in danger, to trade herself for other people. It's like she can't even help it.
Yeah, she does that, and then later on, she decides to sacrifice herself to save Waverly's dipshit boyfriend for
Yeah.
Waverly. Because I assume if Waverly weren't in the picture, she'd just be like, yeah, take him.
I don't think so, because I think she just feels sorry for him, like in that, in that instance, like, oh my gosh, we're seeing something dangerous here, and you're just so pathetic and useless.
I think she thinks that she's the only person with any shred of a chance of defeating them. And so that's why she wants to be the one in danger.
Well, she is, I think. I mean, Dolls learns that he can't shoot Peacemaker like he's been told.
Ugh, we're not there yet.
We're not there
We're not
yet.
there
Sorry,
yet.
keep bringing it up. So Wynonna plans on going in, and Dolls takes Peacemaker and, like, super awkwardly puts that tracker behind her ear.
Yeah.
Like,
That's so
you
weird.
couldn't just say, I'm sticking this tracker behind your ear.
No, because then she would know in advance that he was sitting there waiting the whole time. He's being a creeper.
Two things. First, when I saw that scene for the first time, I was like, oh, he totally put something behind her ear. Like, as a viewer, I was like, there's something going on there. Two, how do you not notice someone sticking something to your head?
Because Dolls wasn't acting like a complete tool, so her brain short-circuited for a second, and she's like, what the fuck is happening? And then the moment was over, and she didn't notice.
Seconded.
Well, I guess that's what happened.
I mean, the first time I saw it, I figured the exact same thing, because I was like, why is he not acting like an asshole?
So two things. One, I just accidentally paused it on the scene where she's holding up her hands. She has the phone in her hand, and it has the Apple sticker on the back, too. I mean, not sticker, just the regular Apple thing. So it is very clearly an iPhone. Just throwing that out. The other thing that I wrote was I thought it was really weird when Nedley came up and was like, we got a hostage situation. I'm like, who reported that?
Plot hole.
Go
Yeah,
get
'cause
the
all the
shovel,
people-
everybody.
No one knows where it is.
That's a good point.
Because all of the hostages, none of them were allowed to leave.
No, I understand them showing up because they heard shots fired, because he's like, oh yeah, shots fired, and then the hostage thing, and I was like, maybe not.
Yeah, so if they were firing shots, is that when Shorty got shot?
They were firing him in the air, I thought.
Well, maybe he can fly. I don't know.
Headcanon.
Yeah, I don't. Shorty splain.
Shorty's plane. So they let Wynonna in, and she like hands over the phone with like that Dolls had called, and they go and they zip tie her hands together. And this is the moment that I would like to shout out, person of interest. Root would not approve of those wimpy ass zip ties.
Yeah, the way they did it too was very breakable.
like that was some shit. I mean, even like the zip ties that she used in that safe house with Shaw with the hood and everything, those were way beefier than the ones Wynonna has on her, and like Root like had the ability to escape out of them if she needed to. Just saying. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
I mean, not everyone is like a masochistic assassin person, well versed with torture, but most of our
I
great
think-
heroes are.
I think that the Revenants would be slightly more well versed. Also, they're in a sporting good, or like they're in like a surplus store. There's an entire shelf of different zip ties. I guarantee you.
Well, I think they're good at killing people, not necessarily,
Logical
keeping people.
thinking.
Yeah.
I don't think that logical thinking is necessarily their forte.
Well, Sam seems to be pretty like together with his planning.
Sam just strolled off of like Duck Dynasty, okay? I can't with him.
Yeah, he did.
He really did. Anyway, when I watched the scene, I went on like a 10-minute tangent to myself about zip ties. So, zip ties, root shaw, hoods, and irons.
Well, that's
Anyway.
really healthy.
I have a one-track mind. Anyways.
Seems normal to me.
Was it Shorty, too, that made the comment about, like, finding tools in a surplus store? He was, like,
Yep.
he was really on it this episode.
Shorty was real salty all episode.
I know, and it just made me love him, and then they took him. And you knew they were going to, because at the very beginning of the episode, when he's like, it's my heart problem, you're like, oh, come on. Okay, so then let's take a trip to the trailer park. Bobo and Doc are having a little heart-to-heart.
Seems like they're breaking up.
Yeah.
Which again, when we know the backstory of how like they knew each other way back when, it just makes these scenes like I think funnier because like they don't know that they have this backstory yet. And it just makes it really funny. I don't know.
Yeah, so we find out here that Doc is not bound to the triangle, which we wouldn't have necessarily thought that he was, but it's just an interesting tidbit of information. And this is the first time, I think, that they bring up the Stone Witch.
Yeah, by name, yeah. I mean, and then, like, Waverly later, like, I guess she knew who Doc was looking for because she, like, circles Constance Clutie on, like, whatever document she has.
Yep, she figures it out before he does.
Yeah, maybe he shouldn't be such an asshole to her.
Mm-hmm. We're about to get there, too.
Yep.
So on that document with the people's names, by the way, at least two of them that I recognized, and I meant to look up the rest, and I will before I do my recap, but were the names of writing staff on the show.
Oh, it's awesome.
Shows do that a lot, and I like it. It's like a fun Easter egg.
Yeah. The only two that I recognized were Caitlin Fryers and Brendan York, so I meant to look up the others and have like a screenshot ready to go, but I was running a little bit late today.
That's funny, because in that case, I just assumed that it was, more like historical people. But it's funny that they chose to do it that way. You know where they also did that? On the Hundy. Perhaps there was a list this past season. I don't know.
Just maybe. I mean, there's maybe a list. Probably wasn't very important, though.
No. Not even. They barely used it at all. It definitely didn't have combinations of writers' names on it either.
Well, I think shows it a lot because if you like make up like random names, like it's like not fun to do, and B, like I don't know. Yeah, it's easier, and then you also don't have like people being like, "Oh my god, my name's on there."
Yeah, it's gonna
Almost
end
the
up being
exact same
someone
name as the
anyway.
writers. Yeah, so they do that. Like Pretty Little Liars did that all the time. Like every single like document or business or whatever was one of the staff's names.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, anyways, I was wondering if Doc was trying to make it look like he actually shot Waverly. Because Bobo couldn't see past that trailer. He was just like, take care of that. And then Doc gave her like that really mean look and shot. It was just, there was something weird about that exchange to me.
Well, it ricocheted off of like the metal of the trailer, so I mean, unless he did like a Wynonna episode 1 trick shot. Well, actually, you know what? He's the greatest gunslinger. I take that back. He very well may have like actually shot Waverly.
Well, no, I
It's
didn't
not out of
mean
the realm of...
I didn't mean to make it look like he did. I meant to make Bobo think he did.
No, I know. I was saying like, oh, Bobo would know because like of the sound of it hitting the trailer.
Oh,
but
okay.
We are talking about the greatest gunslinger, so then again, like nothing's out of the realm of possibility. So.
It's true. It's true.
Did you notice that Bobo sniffed Doc's hat?
I did.
Yeah, Bobo does that a lot with all sorts of items.
He does. If this were a different podcast, one might award them a sexual tension award.
I think they'd win every week, though.
Probably.
Yeah.
So back in
So
the
what
vault.
else happens? What else happens in this show?
So we go back to the vault. It's really weird to me here because Sam is asking. So the other guy got shot. What was his name? I don't even know. Guy on the ground. And Sam is asking, like, can you bring him back? And I thought that was weird because it's like, don't you guys understand how you resurrect?
Apparently not.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
I think he just kind of seems desperate because he's like, you can kill us, so you can probably fix us, right? Like, we're desperate.
Yeah, let me just come up with something.
Did they think that she was just gonna shoot him and then he would just pop right back up, like he's gonna resurrect like a vampire?
I'm not really sure.
So Marty once again with the stabbing stabs his teammate, and then Wynonna agrees to like crack the safe for them because she can crack safes or like crack combination locks, which I am very proud to say that I can also do because I have odd skills.
Hardcore. She also knew how to handle a hostage situation initially, though. Is that something you could do, too?
I do not have that knowledge. I do not. I mean, granted, I would never go to a secondary location.
True.
I am very curious about her history, what hostage situation she was in, and what experience she has in cracking that particular type of safe.
I mean, it's a pretty old safe, so maybe there was like another one in Purgatory, and like she went undercover as like Aphrodite and decided to like, ooh, rob Pussy Willows.
Oh my god. Which is really just in the sub-basement of Shorty's.
Right, of course.
Yep.
Okay. So
the entire town of Purgatory is actually inside of Shorty's. It's like a TARDIS.
Speaking of
it is
Shorty's.
like a TARDIS.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of Shorty's, let's go back to where, if it were not for dolls in this episode, Doc would win that bitch.
Because he's so mean to Waverly. He's
such
so
an
mean
asshole.
to her. Like, how can you be mean to Waverly? Even the Revenants like her. And Doc is being so mean.
Doc is saying like everything that he knows will like trigger Waverly. Because like it's no secret that she's like she wants to be the Earp heir. She like wants to help, and like he's like, and it tells her like she's the last person that has a chance of ending the curse. And oh man, anytime Waverly makes the face that she makes there, I just want to like shoot whoever caused it.
Yeah. Besides that specific line where he says, you know, it's not going to be the heir's pathetic little sister, that makes me want to like castrate him. It's not even necessarily the words that he's saying, but this is the only time in 2 seasons that he ever comes across this way, is just like almost like abusive, violent type, just the way that he's amping up. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You know what this episode, now that I'm thinking about it, is? Like this episode, it's just like all of the men are horrible, except Shorty, but he dies.
Except Shorty.
So.
Yeah.
It's like the one good guy dies, and like every other guy in Purgatory right now is just like an asshole.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
You are.
So the patriarchy gets the That Bitch Award this week.
I bet if Perry were on this season, he would have been wonderful.
He certainly would have stood out.
He would have.
As long as he wasn't horrible, he'd be fine.
I think Doc is doing it because he's trying to protect her. But man, like it's just really rough. And it makes her so sad.
Yeah, I agree with the motivation, but the way he goes about it, man, is just... He's not even just being cold. You know, it's everything about his demeanor. He's just purely awful.
And I think he's scared for her, which I get. But still, like you said, just his entire demeanor is awful. And he is just such a dick.
Yeah.
This is not my favorite Doc episode.
No, definitely not. Till the end, of course. Spoiler. Right. Yeah, I can't stay on that scene. So let's go back to the surplus store and move these hostages.
And this is where Champ says that really great line about how he doesn't even put gluten in his body.
Yeah, well, they get into the van and have that whole ordeal. And
Oh well, before that, Wynonna just cracked the safe, and they get a loveless heart.
Loveless Heart, yeah, from the cheating
One other
spouse.
oxymoron.
Right. Cold Sweat. What? So Dolls is being such a dick to Nedley and Nicole.
Yep,
Yep.
it's just a fact.
It is. I mean, there's really nothing to say.
Like Nedley wants to hey, let's shoot out the tires, and Dolls. And like the thing is, they could have shot out the tires, and like it doesn't necessarily mean that they would have killed the hostages.
Right.
He just didn't want them to intervene at all because he wanted it to play out.
Yep.
And that bitch.
That bitch. Indeed.
That fucking bitch.
So we get to the ritual site. They've all driven there. And this is where we first, when they're talking about leaving the triangle, and we find out more about Ward's bedtime stories that he would tell them about what happens when the Revenants leave.
It's no wonder the Earps have issues.
Oh my gosh, they're so screwed up.
But yeah, what did she say? Like any Revenant that like tries to cross the line, like suffers hell on earth. Is that it?
Yeah, maybe. They say that at some point. I don't remember if that's what she said this time.
My favorite part of this scene, is like the beginning where they're pulling him out of the van, and the guy who pulls Champ out just like slams him into the side of the van as hard as he can.
Did we ever learn that guy's name?
I don't think we did.
Okay.
I know there's Sam and there's Marty, and then like the dude who they've been waiting for.
I got nothing.
Me neither. Sorry.
This is when I get irritated though, because Dolls is there with the camera from like the very beginning of this, just creeping on them.
Oh yeah. And then I had one issue with like this ritual situation. So like the Stone Witch left the quote unquote vessel for them.
Right.
And like they got to stick a hand, a book, and a locket in this vessel. This vessel is not big enough to fit a hand, a book, and a locket.
The vessel is the TARDIS.
No, because like when he puts the stuff in, it's like sticking out of the top. Like it didn't work. You'd think he couldn't put the lid on even if he wanted to.
I would have assumed he was going to set it on fire.
Me too.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, so this was the first time that I kind of understood, because they were talking about the bodies and all the different things. When I understood finally what the spell was, I thought it was actually really ingenious. That they were basically transferring themselves into a human, like their essence or their soul or whatever you want to call it, into a human so that they could leave, just walk across the line.
It was a really good plan. I mean, they probably shouldn't have like hijacked the Earp, but whatever.
Why was Clutie helping them, or she chose them to do it? I'm just curious about the motivation, about her motivation there.
Because they'd be indebted to her, I guess. Because when he was going on about, like, I'd rather like owe her instead of like being stuck in the Ghost River Triangle or going back to hell. So it's basically just like a Faustian deal.
Yeah, she seems to be trying to create some dissension in Bobo's ranks. I don't know if it's to kind of just get some things stirred up to motivate him.
I think she's just annoyed that it's been 15 years and they haven't like pieced together her sons yet. That is a sentence where if you don't watch this show.
Yeah. Why aren't my sons put back together?
What?
Some Humpty Dumpty bullshit.
Why is that something she started 15 years ago? Or that?
Because wasn't that was when Ward was killed, wasn't it?
And Willow was kidnapped. Yeah.
Right, but how long ago were her sons killed?
Oh, I think that it was just like once the error was dealt with, then like Bobo could like start working on that because they didn't have to worry about the heir to put them down. So they like free ran into the Ghost River Triangle to work on it.
I think her sons were killed before she, before like the curse happened, right? Her sons were killed back in the olden timey days.
That's kind
Yeah,
of what I was
wasn't,
thinking. Like, I mean, you've had like 150 years. Why is this all of a sudden a priority?
Yeah,
I think it happened while
didn't
she was still
Wyatt
sister.
do it?
So,
Yeah, I think so. And both she and her husband wanted revenge. He caused the curse, right? And then she cursed Doc Holliday in as revenge for what they did to her sons,
right,
or what Wyatt did to her sons.
right. So again, Wynonna tries to sacrifice herself. But Shorty, I literally wrote down in all caps, Shorty is a bona fide hero.
Shorty is a bona fide
And
hero. You are correct.
He's not having it.
It's just like a really overall good like scene because you get like Melanie Scrofano getting to just like act the fuck out of a scene. She has the like hilarious, this is not the kind of penetration I'm used to, and then like Shorty is just like, nope, my scene.
Yeah. Back off, little girl.
He's like, I got this.
I know you have the weight of the world on your shoulders, but he's just acting like such a dad, which is really cool
Everything
because I mean, none of them have ever had one.
Well, and like everything he says in that scene, like he knows he's gonna die. Like he's accepted it. And like everything he says is just like everything that Wynonna deserves to have heard. Like he never gave up on her coming back. He kept telling Gus and Waverly that she would come back and that she is a good person. And like everything that Wynonna deserves to hear. And he's been like preaching the good word of Wynonna to like the people who not necessarily believed in her while she was away.
Absolutely. No, I agree. He
was just too good for purgatory.
He really was.
Wynonna can't have nice things, so obviously he had to die.
Also, how incompetent is Champ? He can't even run away correctly.
Yeah,
Champ is very
he's so useless. So this is when we can start getting even more angry at Dolls, who, after we see him just dilly-dally around, he finally does come up, and he does so in such a way where he acts like he's gonna be the one to shoot the Revenant, like, and kind of save Shorty with Peacemaker, which of course he cannot shoot, but he's such an arrogant prick that that's his plan.
He has not yet learned that in purgatory, women are the ones that get shit done. He still thinks that he has like some like remote chance of being the hero. And his face when like Peacemaker doesn't fire for him is priceless.
Yeah, but it just made me angry because I was like, yeah, it's her gun, dude. It's not gonna shoot for you. It's a magic gun.
And they've told him that.
Yeah. Everything they tell him about that gun, he just tries to do something different.
Because he can't take their word for it. Like he has to prove it to himself or discover it himself. Like he needs to reinvent the wheel every time because he doesn't believe what other people tell him.
Right.
And this time it only cost them the best man in purgatory.
Basically. Yep.
not an exaggeration.
No. But it did earn Dolls a That Bitch award for episode 3.
Yeah, my notes has just in like huge capital letters, I wrote fuck off Dolls like 4 times.
That's fair.
It's all the notes I took on this scene. Fuck off Dolls.
I can get behind that.
Yeah, I don't really feel like you need anything else.
That pretty well covers it.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Dolls. Your That Bitch award is in the mail.
I have a random Revenant question. You know the one, I think whose name we don't know, that Marty stabbed back at the surplus store?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so what happened to him? Is he still alive? He's just hanging out?
He probably is just going to pop back to life in the surplus store at some point.
Yeah, that's what she was saying. Like, he wasn't put down by Peacemaker, so, like, give him a while and he'll come back up. But, I mean, they obviously didn't take him with them.
Ooh, you know what probably happened? Because he told Nedley and Hot to clear the scene. So maybe they, like, found him and, like, took him into custody.
What if they took him to the morgue and that's a whole episode of some dead body waking up in the morgue?
Ooh. Yeah, I'm behind that. Let's go with that.
Yeah, because he'd be... Even though he wouldn't be dead, he would probably seem dead.
Yes. I would assume.
I don't have a ton of notes for this because I watched under less than ideal conditions, but that's one of my notes. What happened to the one Marty stabbed?
I have one random thought that I forgot to bring up earlier. So, at this point, nobody knows, like, what caused the curse. Like, we know that it was the demon Clutie. But on Waverly's, like, murder board that she was presenting from earlier in the episode, she has a few Post-it notes on there that, like, where she's, like, hypothesizing what caused, like, the Earp curse. And, like, one of them, like, one says, like, how did this all begin? Native American curse, witch magic, and, like, a whole bunch of other ideas. So, like, she not only has been investigating, like, who all the remnants are, but she's been trying to, like, determine the root cause of the curse. I just went a little bit nerdy on that murder board.
Well, I mean, her life.
I just like that, like, she's, like, hitting, like, every angle from it, like, trying to think of everything. Obviously, she didn't think of some, like, demon who's still kind of alive, but, I mean, she probably thought of damn near everything. She just couldn't find proof of any of them.
Yeah, I agree. So we go back to Shorty's one last time in this episode, but Shorty is not with us. And
no, they're actually mourning his death.
Yeah. So first we have the scene between Waverly, Hot, and Champ.
Ugh. Like, Nicole's just trying to be nice. Like, console the girl that she is shooting massive hard eyes at.
Waverly, and try to hit on her a little bit. She's just a little. Not a lot. Not in a predatory way, but she's definitely, trying to make a good impression.
And then fucking Champ, like, sidles up and just starts kissing her all over, and Waverly's face and body language is just screaming, somebody save me from this monster.
Okay, so I notated with him, have you ever seen anyone act like that?
No, because I don't think that's something that humans do.
Yeah, I mean, like, the way he was just hanging on her, and kissing her, like, 8 million times on her, like, the side of her head, like, that was just weird to me.
He was marking his territory.
But he didn't even know that he needed to mark his territory, kind of.
Yeah, no, because he thought it was all about him, like, Hot left, and Waverly was, like, trying to say something about her and getting kind of flustered, and he was like, it's okay, I'm okay. Like, he's just such a self-centered ass.
A thought it was all about him. B was hanging all over her. Like, her face is just like, God, this man boy. And yeah, if anybody did what Champ's doing to Waverly did that to me, I would, like, kick them and run.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like, there is some personal space issues here.
I'm not sure Waverly knows what appropriate funeral attire is.
It's purgatory.
I guess.
Do we have a weather report?
I'm just saying, she's not dressed very warmly, but, Wynonna's in her leather jacket.
It did seem to be, like, cooler weather, because everybody except Champ was in, like, a coat.
Except for Waverly at the funeral, where she was in barely anything.
So we have it again. This is how many times now in this episode? It's the third time, I think, because it happened outside the store, too, where Nicole kind of makes a motion towards Waverly, and Dolls is like, oh my god, why me?
Well, this last time is, like, real obvious, because Dolls had her call Waverly outside the store to leave Wynonna a message, be like, hey, or to leave Waverly a message, hey, your sister's a hostage, bye. And here she just walks out and she's like, she thanked me for the phone call, and he's just like, oh my god.
She was glad I called, or she said she was glad I called. And he's like, okay.
I wonder if in the message she left for Waverly, if she said anything about Champ being held hostage.
Probably not.
Meh. Also, I did think it was a little bit weird, and maybe it was just Waverly making it up and not Wynonna making it up, but when she made that comment to Champ about, like, Wynonna said you were really brave.
I think that was just her feeding his fragile ego.
I thought so, too.
Because there's no way that Wynonna would have said that.
Yeah, he was the opposite of brave. He, yeah, no. Definitely just trying to feed his ego. Because I'm sure Wynonna told her what really happened.
Right.
But, Waverly can't tell him that.
Well, based on what happened earlier in the episode where Doc equated bravery to stupidity, maybe she did say he was brave.
Good point.
We're speaking in code here.
Towards the end of the episode, I think it's Wynonna who says, "I don't think I can look in the mirror after because she had to shoot Shorty. I can't even imagine the guilt that goes along with that." And I just wondered if that was, about her saying that she can't look in the mirror, if that was foreshadowing to I think it's the next episode, is the blade, right?
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
TikTok, forgiven. Actually, she says that because Dolls, admits, without any remorse, "Oh, I was there the entire time. I just wanted to see it play out." And she says something along the lines of, I've done a lot of, bad things in my life, but working with you, I might not be able to look myself in the mirror.
Yep.
Because she's working with that bitch who thinks it's totally fine to sacrifice the one good man in purgatory to, satisfy his curiosity.
When she brought up specifically that Shorty died because of him, he literally said collateral damage.
Yep.
And I was so done with him.
I'm surprised that, I know character development and all that is great, but I'm really surprised that they got me to turn around as much as they did with Dolls, because I remember after this episode aired, I was like, can he just leave the show?
Yeah. Yeah, I was the same way.
He's so bad in this episode. Not a fan.
So we have our Earp sisters moment where Waverly tells Wynonna that good guys are in short supply, but she's definitely one of them.
It kind of reminded me of in the season 2 finale when when I was giving birth on the pool table, and they both kind of do the back and forth of you're the best of us, you're good and all that. It seems like the pool table in Shorty's is just the location where the Earp sisters reaffirm each other.
Maybe it has some sort of special powers.
It's like the lasso of truth. It's the pool table of niceness. You're welcome.
Of encouragement.
Yes, the pool table of encouragement.
That's perfect. Accepted into canon.
Yep, it is now canon. But yeah, that's kind of a running theme of both of them always reassuring the other that they are good, or the best of us, or this or that,
or that they belong.
Yeah, I mean, because they both of them have their plenty of self-confidence issues, so it's kind of they're constantly checking in with each other.
Yeah, and abandonment issues.
Oh yeah.
So we go back finally to the homestead, where Wynonna makes me very happy by, in some roundabout random way, making it clear how much she hates horses, because that's kind of my jam.
That is oddly specific. Go ahead.
I mean, they're very pretty, majestic animals. They do great stuff. Yay for races, whatever. But, they're so gross. My family had horses when I was growing up, and they're just, ew.
I don't have that much experience with horses. They do scare me a little bit. Because, one kick from a horse and you're pretty much fucked.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of riding horses. Not big on being on something that can make up its own mind. Yeah.
The only thing that I am a fan of is that one time that Root rode a horse to someone's rescue.
Okay, that was awesome. I'll give you that.
It was so good. Other than that, I don't care for horses. Now I'm thinking about person of interest.
So then we find out, oh my gosh, as if that has ever stopped.
Well, not at the forefront of my mind. Somebody talk about Wynonna Earp.
So we find out that Henry has not been exactly direct, and we finally are blatantly introduced to John Henry, or as most people call me, Doc. And
Wynonna's well shit face is so good.
All of her faces are good.
True.
Yeah, it's a good one though, and she is genuinely surprised. Much more so. Like Waverly obviously already figured it out.
She's rendered like temporarily speechless, which is really impressive because Wynonna always has like a quip.
Mm-hmm.
Like when she thought that Doc was like proposing a threesome, and she was like, "I'm not in the mood, and I haven't shaved my legs."
I'm
Like she's always got one in the chamber ready to fire. There, she was just completely floored and speechless.
I mean, it's not every day you hear that your great grandfather's best friend is, alive.
And the guy that you've been hitting on for the past week.
Yes. And, you find out that he really is a little bit too old for her.
And he may or may
yet
not be swearing fealty. Whatever.
Oh, deep cut too soon.
And then that's it, guys. We made it. We made it through another episode.
That we did. Somehow, miraculously.
Okay, so you guys want to do favorite Earp Sisters moment?
Yeah.
All right, go.
So my favorite Earp Sisters moment in this episode is just one word, actually. And it's when Waverly looks at Wynonna and makes air quotes and says, "Met." Now, yes, it's a little bit of slut-shaming, but I still thought it was really cute and still, like, a nice moment between the two of them.
Plus, it's funny when your sister does it.
Yes.
She knows how
I
she
mean,
means
probably,
it.
I don't know. I don't have a sister, so I don't know how that really works, but...
I don't either. I'm just taking a stab in the dark.
Yeah, I don't either. But I agree.
Well, it's a good thing we're all experts on this.
But, okay, it's like the difference, though, between having, like, one of your really good friends, quote-unquote, slut-shame you, than it is, like, having that weird dude last week being like, she's got a raging case of nymphomania. Like, what? Like...
Yeah, vastly different.
Yeah,
things.
like, if you did
That's
it to me,
true.
I would just be like, yeah, whatever. Good times.
It like depends on level of closeness.
Right.
So if it's like somebody you met, like you've been like, or like a tertiary friend said that to you, you'd be like, whoa, fuck off. But if it was like one of you, I'd just be like, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
So my favorite Earp Sister moment is the moment at the end on the pool table where Waverly
The pool table
lets
of
Wynonna
feelings.
know the pool table of feelings, where Waverly lets Wynonna know that she is a good person.
Yep. You're definitely one of the good guys. That's mine, too.
It's just, I don't know, hands down for me, best. One of the best scenes of the episode.
Yeah, that probably actually ranks pretty high as far as Earp Sister moments go, too. At least, like, in Season 1. I mean, gosh, they just constantly top those.
They really do. I am all in that one. Whew.
It-
I
like-
like this one a lot. Like, it ranks high for me overall as an Earp Sister moment because Wynonna just went through something so traumatic, and like she doesn't need somebody telling her you did the right thing, this and that, because she knows she did the right thing. But she needs someone to tell her, remind her, like, you are a good person. Like, doing the right thing and it sucking doesn't make you a bad person.
Right. Yeah, because that's most definitely, besides shooting her dad, this is clearly by far the worst thing she's ever done in her, in her own eyes.
I would say that, like, this moment is akin to Bellamy telling Clark who we are and who we need to be to survive are two vastly different things. Like, I think this is, like, the same thing, but on, like, the Wynonna Earp level.
Yep. And we talked about that back starting in, episode 1. It is a theme that is pervasive throughout this show. It's not as, primary and core as it is in The Hundy, but it's definitely something that comes up over and over. Like, your decisions don't necessarily define you when you're presented with circumstances so far beyond your control. These people are just doing the very best they can, and trying to do the right thing, like you said, which is not always the easy thing. And in this case, it's not always what somebody would consider a good thing, but that doesn't mean they're not good people.
It also, hold on one second. It reminds me of something that, like, that Harold said too in Person of Interest, and I'm trying to remember what it was. It was something along the lines of, like, these days, like, black and white dissolve into grayscale, and that like everybody feels that they're the hero of their own story, but there are like no good guys and no bad guys. Everybody's just doing the best that they can.
Right.
And I think that's it's kind of the same theme, but like phrased differently. Like the Revenants are bad, yes, but they're also doing what they need to do to survive. So like in their story, they're not the bad guys.
Right. It's always about perspective.
And like, yeah, and like we're viewing this story through like Wynonna's point of view, and like she's the hero in the story, but like to the Revenants, she's a villain.
Right. So it's more about it's more about heroes and villains / perspectives than it is about good and bad or good and evil.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's not a hero in her own story. I mean,
she doesn't think she's a hero in her own story.
No,
everybody else views her as a hero.
She doesn't view herself that way. I don't think she sees herself as quite the same level of bad person as a Revenant does, but she certainly doesn't see herself how Waverly does. She's somewhere on that scale. I don't know which end her self-view skews more towards.
Well, I think a lot of the reason that she's a reluctant hero, but I think a lot of the motivation for her doing these things, like offering herself up as a hostage to trade herself for the other hostages, is that like she wants to be the hero in her story. She doesn't think she is one, but like that's the dream, like to earn the title of hero like for herself.
Yeah, there's a sense of redemption going on.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everyone. If you have anything you want to say about this episode, please tweet at or DM us at EarpsPlanePod. You can leave us a voicemail at 678-871-0098, or you can email us at somethingintheair@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter at Lesbienzer, BP at Beep33TV, and Michelle at McNick1291. Did you love this podcast? Rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes and Google Play. Thanks so much for listening, everyone, and remember, it may be a shit show, but it's our shit show.